Hi, I'm Sean, and this is Foxbody Fury. It's a new channel I just created to document the build of my drag and drive project there in the background. Yeah, let's turn the camera around and just start talking about it. All right, this is a 1986 Ford Mustang GT, so that's a hatchback. My goal is a 7-second drag and drive car that I can take on these kind of drag and drive events, which are week-long events, kind of all over the country, where you fit into various classes or brackets with the car, I guess, where you kind of race against yourself. You run a time at one track and turn in your slip, then you drive on a designated route by the organizers and take pictures along the way, kind of to prove that you've been there. And then you go to the next track, the next day, and you try to run, either the same time if you're doing brackets, or you try to, just run really good times. And the challenge in that is building a fast car for the track, or a repeatable car for the track, or both really, and also build a vehicle that can survive on the street. So my plan with this car, like I said, was a 7-second car, and I'm building a light car. It's going to be a stick shift car. My goal is 2,500 pounds or less. I'm running a very non-standard engine. I don't know if I've seen any of kind of the engine I'm going to be running ever before in these cars. So that's kind of something cool coming up. I'm not going to reveal that yet. And then we're going to probably run about 1,100 horsepower to try to get to that 7-second time. The cage I'm going to be running, I just got the cage from Outlaw Chassis Fab. He did a great job on it. I think we tested out the idea of polishing the tubes. I think it in general worked out pretty well. I think we could maybe, if he does decide to offer polished tubes as a kind of a feature for these cages, I think the packaging needs to be a little bit different. I think maybe each tube individually needs to be, vacuum packed, or maybe kind of these bundles need to be vacuum packed or double bagged and vacuum packed, just to keep the moisture out, because we did get a few spots of rust here and there. But in general, I think just some sandpaper cleanup is gonna fix that, and I don't have to do hours and hours of polishing myself. I'm not a fabricator. I don't enjoy the sanding process, but it sure makes them look nice, and it makes them weld up a lot nicer as well. So thanks, Justin, for trying out that tube polishing for me, and I think it'd be a good option to offer your customers in the future. But maybe we should make a few little tweaks to the packaging to get that done. I also got a front end kit, which I'll show you in a minute on the car. Got a front end kit, coilover bar, got a bunch of stuff from Outlaw Chassis Fab. Good quality stuff. And with anything, just use your brain and take your time with the fit up. I think that's my main pieces of advice. So I made a mistake here on this frame rail. I cut it thankfully I didn't cut all the way through, but I cut it too far back, and I realized before I cut all the way through. So I had to weld that up, and then I got out my laser and got much nicer cut lines, like drawn out. Anyway, got the end plates put on there. And then I welded the front end kit onto that. I did level the car, meticulously leveled the car before I did this kit, the front end kit, just so that when I level the car, that I know with the same level that these tubes are all level. So it's not perfectly lined up, but it's pretty darn close. And if you don't spend that time with the fit up, it'll be even worse. So the front end is not a real critical component as far as carrying a lot of weight or being a real big structural member of the car. It just has to hold up the radiator and intercooler and a couple other components like that. And of course the front bumper. So another part of the build here, I guess, we're running 17-inch wheels on it. They're VMS Racing skinny front wheels. And the brakes are, I believe it's a kit from FTR. The bracket is a kit from FTR. It's an old kit, and it runs S197 Mustang GT calipers, and then 2012, I'm not sure what other years, Mustang GT 500 rotors, so 14-inch rotors. And in doing so, I'm going to have to run some big brakes in the back. Also, the steering here, it's a manual steering rack, very similar to Flaming River. I created the steering, what do you call it, the steering shaft myself. I think, you know, again, take your time and you'll end up with a quality product. I have a tubular K-member for a 302 that I found on Facebook Marketplace. And then UPR control arms. Did I say they're 9495 S195 spindles? I think so. And I've just got done doing the bump steer adjustment. So surprisingly, I'm really not using, I'm not using any shims at all between the heim joint and the spindle. I tested all different numbers of spacers, and the zero spacers gets me to right where I need to be. So at ride height, got about a 1/16 of an inch of toe in, and then at full extension, which I'm going to limit to about 2 more inches beyond ride height, we had about 3/16 of an inch of toe in. And then at full dive or full compression, we still have a little bit of toe in to keep it safe. You don't want any toe out when you're doing, 160 plus miles an hour. Mini tubs. So one of the first things I did when I got this chassis was the mini tubs. These are Wild Rides mini tubs. I got them pre-welded, so all I had to do was, get out my laser and make the cuts, get the old fenders out of there, and then take my time getting them all fitted up and square, and all the dimensions correct, get them pounded up in there, and then get a few tacks set. Once I got those few tacks set, I was able to, I think I did a weld every inch or two, something like that. I think you can, well, no, I painted over everything, but you used to be able to see where the welds were. And then I seam sealed those. Also, to prepare for the roll cage that I'll be putting in, I cut out the floor. And kind of next steps, I think, are going to be cleaning up the frame rails, or the rocker rails there on the inside, and tack welding in the plates for the floor structure of the 25.2, 25.3 cage. I don't know, I guess I didn't talk about that yet, but the 25.2, 25.3 cage, it's the same exact cage, 2 different specs, and it's all, the only difference is the weight of the vehicle. So a 25.3, I believe, is like 3,500 pound maximum. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a 3,500 pound maximum, 6.5 second ET, minimum time. And then a 25.2 would be, I believe, a 3,000 or maybe a 3,200 pound maximum, and then a 6 second ET. I'll have no problem with those requirements because, my goal of 2,500 pounds I think is going to be pretty achievable. I think where I'm going to run into issues is, well, not really run into issues, but my goal is only 7 seconds. So I'm not going to get anywhere near 6 seconds with this car. But it's going to be different. It's going to be unique, and I doubt if there's going to be another one out there as far as the engine combo or transmission combo I'm using. I did mention it's going to be stick shift, I think. Talk the rear end again. So on the rear end, it's going to be the 8.8 rear end with a spool, 35 spline axles. It's cut down to length, you know, to fit within the fenders there. I still have a little bit of cleanup work to do as far as cutting it and then welding on the 9-inch axle housing ends. And then also I have a axle housing brace kit, lower control arm mounts, and shock mounts from Outlaw Chassis Fab. So I got that still left to do. The wheels are 15 by 10 with a 4-inch back spacing, and I went with the 4-inch back spacing because in a 15 by 10, it's pretty easy to find the 4-inch back spacing. And if I really want to in the future, I can go to a 15 by 12 and still be able to find some 15 by 12s with a 6-inch back spacing, and I wouldn't have to cut down the housing at all or modify the housing at all to fit those 15 by 12s. So kind of trying to future-proof a little bit, or, you know, just keep the car able to, you know, keep the design able to be, you know, be able to change things a little bit in the future without making major modifications. I think I want to touch on the suspension a little bit. So I'm new to building drag cars. I'm really new to building a lot of kind of cars, but drag cars in particular, I was told you need to buy wheels and tires first, and particularly the back, to get the fitment for the axle housing. So that makes sense. And then I learned that since I'm doing such a non-standard build, that suspension really needs to be the last thing on my list. So that's why I threw in the old shocks. It'll just kind of roll around on those old shocks, and I'll probably just get, like, I think there's some adjustable like links I can use to hold up the back end until the point at which the car is nearly done and I can weigh it front and back, and then just talk with the coilover and shock manufacturer to tell them what I want to do with the car, tell them front and rear weights, and so they can get the proper valving for those shocks. And once I get those, then I'm going to recheck the bump steer and make sure that, you know, what I've already determined to be correct is still correct. And that's kind of the route I'm going to go. So I guess just to kind of wrap it up, this is a 1986 Foxbody Mustang. It's going to have a weird engine, stick shift transmission. Goal is 2,500 pounds, probably about 1,100 horsepower, and goal is 7-second passes in the quarter mile, and, you know, reliable street driving. So hopefully doing this YouTube thing will help me stay motivated to, you know, create more content and get the car done. So I did have a goal of being able to participate in a drag and drive event in 2025. Don't know if I'll get there because there's a lot to do, especially because I think the goal is pretty ridiculous what I'm trying to do, 7 seconds on a first build, but we'll see where we get. So I guess without any more to talk about today, we'll end it there. This is Foxbody Fury. Like, subscribe, comment, share, bell icon. I don't know all the things you're supposed to say, but first video I get a pass. Thanks, and see you next time.